All right, look, on my channel, we get straight to the content. So listen, man, if you're a degenerate Joe Buttens fan like me, you listen to everything that got to do with Joe Buttens. I be on Twitter. I listen to like the replay of the Twitter spaces, right? Long story less long. The rumor is, and I think it's confirmed, that Melyssa Ford and Charlamagne the God is doing the interview together, right? And everyone's like, oh, this is Melyssa Ford getting back at the JBP, right? As a real Joe Buttens fan, and if you're familiar with my content, y'all know how I feel. Who cares? We don't care what Melyssa Ford do no more, bro. And if you really into this content space, especially like the black content space, right? I don't know, like, I get it. Like, Charlamagne the guy got a big following. He make a lot of money. I get it. I don't know how y'all be interested in Charlamagne. I never was interested in Charlamagne. Like, I listened to a couple of Breakfast Club interviews. I'm not going to lie. But when it comes to, like, carrying this content, it's Joe Buttens, and it's not even close. Charlamagne the guy has never been on Joe Buttens' level. I don't care if Charlamagne worth 100 and Joe worth 20. Charlamagne has never been on Joe's level, and Joe is annoying with stuff. Recently, him and Parks was real annoying about mental health, and I'm gonna kind of touch into that. But I'm so glad that Melyssa Ford has departed the JBP. But I wish Joe Buttens would stop putting the podcast, because like I said, whether I'm working out, I just came from Dick's Sporting Goods. It's getting cold outside. But as black men, we got to maintain working out. Black women too. Anybody, for real, get your workout in. Go to Dick's, no Diddy. Get your outdoor workout stuff and get it popping. Gym memberships is overrated. But anyway, so like, Joe always has the podcast surrounded by shadiness. And this is a Joe Buttens problem. If you know Joe, and I'm similar to Joe. Like, I like being friends with like females. They be cool, you know what I'm saying? But Joe likes little chatty patty stuff. So like, he'll be cool with the people on Twitter spaces, and they'll be kicking people in the podcast back in the whole time. Or like, he'll be cool with Melyssa Ford. Melyssa Ford was nothing but a cancer to the podcast from the moment she walked on. She never really spoke from a woman's perspective. She spoke from an irrational perspective the whole time. So now that she's gone, people are like, oh yeah, she's doing an interview with Joe Buttens and with Charlamagne the God. Who cares? Melyssa Ford podcast career as she knows it, and that's how we know it's over. And to me, it should have been over. I don't know. You know what's funny about Charlamagne the God? I'm not really a Charlamagne the God fan. He might go on there and intellectually try to throw her under the bus the whole time. So I don't know. It depends on what's going on that day. Like, if I'm working out, let's say I'm going for a run, and Melyssa Ford dropped the podcast with Charlamagne the God, I'm not a fan of them, but for the fact that I'm doing a run, I might tune in. But like, those two people are not relevant in like cultural spaces. It is not. I know Charlamagne the God is on the Breakfast Club, and I understand. Listen, I'm not being biased. I understand the Breakfast Club has cultural relevance. But do they really? Like, cultural relevance is the ability to change and shift culture. I don't really think Charlamagne the God changes or shifts culture. I think he has a lot of opinions and he can go viral. It's like Mark Lamont Hill. Mark Lamont Hill can go viral for something, but he has no cultural pull. He don't shift the culture at all. That's why he's on the Joe Buttens podcast. I don't know. I mean, like I said, people making a big deal out of this. And like, at the end of the day, this is a Joe Buttens problem. Joe Buttens is an amazing podcaster. Joe Buttens was an amazing rapper. Joe Buttens is just an entertaining guy, bro. I never watched all that VH1 nonsense. But when Joe was on there, you know what I'm saying? Jersey Dude on there, I supported it. He's an entertaining guy. He's funny. I find certain aspects of him within myself, no Diddy. But like, he is a terrible coach. You know who Joe Buttens is? Joe Buttens is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a great coach. If you're really a football fan and you understand, Bill Belichick was terrible at re-signing players, and he was fucking terrible at drafting. That's Joe Buttens. Joe Buttens brought Melyssa Ford on the podcast. That's a terrible draft decision. Aisha Ish, that's different. And I don't, like I said, I look at Queen's Flip as a culture vulture, but like he be decent on the podcast, and he getting better. Like I ain't gonna lie. But Melyssa Ford, the other little joint they brought on there, these are bad picks. I don't care what y'all say. Mark Lamont Hill is a bad draft pick for the JBP. He just is. Joe Buttens brought Jaquan on there. Jaquan is terrible. Nobody feel like this too cool for school young boy on the podcast that don't really know nothing. Get him out of here. Joe Buttens is literally Bill Belichick. Great coach, horrible at everything else, bro. Like, I had to listen, like, let's go on a side quest real quick. So I had to listen to Joe Buttens and Park talk about mental health. Now listen, I have mental health stuff going on in my family. A lot of us do, you know what I mean? So, and especially like when you grow up and you look at the history, you look at and I'm not going to make it political, but the Reagan administration was when they started getting rid of the places where people could actually go to get help. So a lot of times when you on social media and when you're dealing with this, you're dealing with that, you're dealing with people with like issues, but there is nowhere to get the help, right? I get it. I got mental health people in my family. You know what I'm saying? The way Joe and Parks was condoning any, like, so basically they're talking about Kanye West. Kanye West go see the rabbi. He trying to get forgiveness from that community, right? Meanwhile, he's selling stuff. And shout out to Ice. Ice don't do a lot, but when he point out certain stuff, it be cooking. Shout out to Ice. Of course, Kanye West is selling something the whole time he's trying to like talk to this rabbi, right? So they start talking about like, well, you know, Kanye West mental health and this person mental health. They even bring up Antonio Brown. Hey, yo, bro. All right, I got mental health people in my family. And if you old like me, I'm 40. People that had mental needs in our family, like when I was growing up, when there was a family function, they made folks go to the back room. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Because they just kept them out the way. So when I'm telling y'all the Reagan administration got rid of, and I'm not saying you got to ostracize these people from society, but you got to ostracize these people from society if they throw it off. Like, you're like, oh, Kanye West did this, and Antonio Brown did this, and they did that, and they mental health. Okay, but how long does the public have to be subjected to their nonsense? Kanye West has said some of the most terrible stuff about people's kids. He was poking fun at Jay-Z and Beyonce's kid being special needs. So forget that little girl's special needs. We got to care about Kanye West's special needs because he not taking his medicine and he disrespecting everybody. Disrespecting the Jewish community. Disrespecting the black. Disrespecting everybody. Talking about he a black Nazi. Kanye West has he's a very popular person. Popular platform. Legendary person. Legendary entertainer. He's spreading hate. Platforming people like Nick Fuentes. Uber racist. Like, how long we got to be subjected to a person being mentally thrown off to where it's just like, oh, well, we got to let them get a pass for everything they do. Yo, Parks and Joe Buttens sounded nuts. Every time you turn around, they talk about mental health. Parks got to talk about, well, yeah, my girlfriend, yeah, she had mental health. Dude, we don't care. Because now we looking at you like mental health. Because why are you running around with somebody that's mentally not stable, bro? And I know we all run across some crazy bitches, but it sounds like Parks was running around with a chick that was ready to offer herself all the time, and now he think you just got to give a pass to everything mental health. Get out of here. They got to get help, and if they don't get help, listen, they got to get help, but they got to get help. I seen some crazy just walking in the store. They got to get help. And in the meantime, they got to be ostracized from the public. Because let's say, worst case scenario, right? Let's say one of these mental health people, you got kids, they molest your kids. Joe Buttens and Parks would be like, oh, man, you got to let it go. They mentally not stable. What? What? Oh, hell no. No. Like, it got to be. And like I said, during the Reagan administration, they got rid of a lot of these centers. But we got to find a different way to deal with this outside of just giving people passes like Joe and Parks wanted to. Get out of here, bro. So that means somebody mentally unstable, they walk up to me. That's how you got the stuff going on in New York. People mentally unstable in the subway, stabbing people, spitting on people. So what, they don't get reprimanded for that because they mental health? Nah, don't agree with it. And that was a very brain dead conversation that Parks and Joe was trying to have. I ain't gonna lie to you. But like, yeah. I don't know how y'all feel about the interview, but Charlamagne the God interviewing Melyssa Ford, who cares? I've been like in a great mood listening to the podcast without Melyssa Ford. That was a waste of time. But Joe got to stop having these toxic type people around the podcast. Like I said, I listened to Danny from the Stop. Shout out to Danny from the Stop. Danny from the Stop has done so much work on the Joe Buddens podcast and created so many narratives on the Joe Buddens podcast. He creates a toxic environment for the Joe Buddens podcast. Danny from the Stop, like shout out to Danny from the Stop, he make money on the pod. That dude is a regular guy. How is a regular guy having a chokehold on the podcast, Joe? That's you being messy. You can't do the pod without being messy, bro. Don't get it. But anyway, I'm gonna holler at y'all in the next video. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on. I'm out.